If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. When you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it out himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told. And if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one. Black is the lens that colors everything I see. And what I have come to realize is that all Black children are younger versions of me, trying to find their place through a lens of possibilities while moving through an unwelcoming world that only points out their deficiencies. White teachers, white police officers, and even white store clerks do their part to train us to believe that our Black skin is a curse. Even worse, that nothing will ever change. No matter how many Martins and Malcolms and Obamas march on the street of America's colonized land, imploring us to imagine, dream, and state, oh yes we can, white supremacy wants us convinced that struggle will always be calling our name. I present to you the words of Carter Woodson. He was the first to demand we celebrate Black antiquity. Even in the 1930s, he called what was happening in America's classrooms a worst sort of lynching. Because an educational system's conditioning that acclimates Black children to be ashamed of their own history. And we are legally expected to send our babies to school for at least 12 years so they can be fitted with mental shackles that cause them to interpret oranges as apples. Becoming familiar with experiencing failure, well, that's a plus. Can't y'all see what they are selling us? Many educators focus on Black boys sagging pants instead of feeding their unnourished brains. They refuse to consider the humanity of Black girls or even learn to pronounce their names. Miseducation is strategic. They train Black children to pledge allegiance to unconsciously living out the rest of their days with an anemic existence, while self-righteous Black leaders make money by poverty pimping, pocketing profits from the educational system's forced delusions, actively contributing to our problems, and rarely the solutions. We can't even always depend on collecting wisdom from our elders, don't you know? Because some of them are still riding the shadows of what they accomplished 40, 50 years ago. So don't look at me and try to question why I choose to be working so hard while you are cutting yourself slack, selling my name, talking trash behind my back. For decades, some of our so-called leaders have conditioned us to perpetuate and buy into our own self-hate so they can keep getting paid to keep protecting the white man's gates. I said it. Whomever just yelled, ouch! Because this real truth right here is pinching. Well, that just means you too deserve an A+ for offering subtle lessons on slow lynching. And yet, at the same time, I've learned not to blame you. This nation was built on white supremacy, and we're all swimming in the same toxic soup. No matter the color, we're all living with some form of trauma. And trauma unhealed is trauma transferred. So you can't help but generate jealousy, envy, and gossip, and ooh, child, let me tell you what I just heard. As long as we seek out handouts from the oppressor, we will never learn our own talents and strengths, or even remember Sankofa's ancient wisdom, which reminds us to go back and claim our ancestral resiliency and creativity that has always been buried within. See, with Black and brown folks, it takes courage and intention to discover one's path to healing, and it takes a whole lot of mental strength to reject generations and generations of conditioning. Because even Harriet Tubman's many perilous travels to help set our people free was met with Black tattletales and Black backstabbers talking about, y'all got some nerve trying to act like you deserve to be free. See, some Black people's minds have become so twisted, they'll never become conscious enough to act like family. As Woodson said, when you can shape a Black man's or woman's thinking, they will always find their proper place to be. But once you understand a colonizer's indoctrination, you'll start to move through the world so differently. Because a strong sense of self, a heart filled with Black joy, will never shackle a Black mind that is determined to be free.